All right, welcome to another episode of the Political Playbook. I'm Wyatt, and this is my co-host Aaron, and today we are talking about conspiracies, but not like your high-end believable conspiracies. We are talking about the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that makes you lose brain cells, the stuff that unfortunately far too many people in the American population believe. So, obviously with all the Epstein stuff going on, and we are in the age of misinformation, there has been a lot of, I would say, going overboard on the Epstein stuff. So, I mean, just to kind of give you my take, just because Jeffrey Epstein did horrible, bad, unspeakable things, right, on behalf of God knows who, right? I don't want to get sued. Um, that doesn't mean that we can just make up even more horrible, evil shit about him, right? And it'd be fact. So, that's kind of my take. I see a lot of people, and Darren, maybe you can expound on this better than I can, but I just see a lot of stuff that's literally like he beheaded and, drank blood of babies. And I'm just like, okay, all right. That's nowhere in the files.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What is your take on this whole Epstein business?
Well, I'm in complete agreement because it has even like very reasonable people just totally I mean they sound like Joe Rogan or something. And I don't mean to be mean to Mr. Rogan because I like the JRE experience. It's just that Epstein wasn't this like satanic occultist like baby killer. I mean he just was not having sex with prepubescent girls even if he was, there's really no evidence for it, and it doesn't really kind of mesh with what we do know about him.
Well,
I think
on that one, I will defend him a little bit. Like you'll hear this a lot that he's not a pedophile, he's a hebephile or whatever it's called, right? And I
yes,
I
yeah.
feel like that's just semantics in an attempt to obfuscate. I feel like there's no substance from adding that context, despite how accurate it is, right? So it doesn't make what he did any less gross, in my opinion. But anyway, so I didn't mean to stop you on your roll there.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, I think by and large the girls he had access to were all pubescent. They were, I think the lowest stage of any of the girls he trafficked may have been 14. Uh, but anything over that, it typically stayed above 18. So I do know I've seen parts of the files where the girls freely admitted that they would be under the age of 18, but would lie about their age, claiming they're 18 so that they could go hang out with Epstein. They would give him erotic massages, basically just to build their network. He was willing, in one account, this girl, I believe, was 16 or 17, and she knew that Epstein was willing to pay, high dollar, like $200 for a topless massage, and he would, it's, forgive me, listeners, but, he would masturbate while they massage him while topless, but he wouldn't actually touch this girl. He's obviously like a pervert, but to the extent that I don't think, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say I don't think Epstein ever had sex with like a 5 year old or something. I don't think he ever had
Yeah,
like,
but I feel like the only context that that could add, right, is if like, and I'm not claiming this of you, but it seems like there are now people trying to almost like semi sort of I don't want to say defend or maybe shield. They're trying to shield him by adding that context, and I'm like, okay, like 14 versus 5 to me is pretty morally similar in terms of its disgust. So, you know, But anyway, that's not really the topic of this particular podcast. But I just felt like it was necessary to say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Either way, it's pretty bad, no matter how you swing it. You know, sex. You know, he was a. I guess you could call him a sex trap. Well, here's the thing. Even with the sex trafficking, it's hard to say because even like Virginia Giuffre or Giuffre, I forget how you pronounce her name, but uh, this woman is like a serial. There's a term I've heard many times, a serial fabulist. She just makes up stories. She lies a lot. Maybe Epstein had her do things against her will. It's hard to say with her, but that's where like a lot of like the body of evidence comes from against Epstein, and a lot of this was like settled via outside mediation or pleas. So
Hmm.
it's hard to say like how guilty Epstein really is. I think the more
That is an
interesting
insane thing to say, I think. But go ahead.
in terms of like sex trafficking, I don't know that he really did all that much sex trafficking. What I will say is what he did for sure is I he has to be foreign intelligence. I mean, that that to me is what makes him particularly evil. The sex stuff, I get the sense that beyond like I don't know statutory arguments where you can say a girl wasn't necessarily old enough to consent. It seems like pretty much every girl who dealt with Epstein basically wanted to be there, from what I can tell.
Oh, I feel like that's an insane thing to say. Okay, so you're not even going to the far ends where you're like, "Oh my gosh, he didn't like cut off the heads of babies and drink their blood." You're just saying that like this whole human trafficking thing is a little overblown. That's what you're saying? For real? We don't
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
come
mean,
on.
I know, I know. It sounds crazy because
You're
everybody.
saying this now? You're saying this now.
Yes, yes. There's
That's
nothing in the
what?
files that really indicates to me that he's been like, trafficking people against their will. I think there's a lot of misinterpretation, jumping to conclusions
Dude,
by.
you're there's over like 6 million pages, and like in the dawn of where we are finally getting that released, I just can't believe that you're so confident to say something as reckless as that. Like that's what I don't understand. You didn't
He
leave
may.
you didn't leave any room for, well, let's wait and find out. You were like, yeah, as far as I could tell, all the women wanted to be there. Do you not realize that that is fucking crazy? That is fucking do we not?
I
There's
mean, he
six
might.
million. We
I
have
will
half.
concede he might have sex trafficked. I'm sure that there are some laws where even if an 18-year-old girl seems to be there of her own will, it could be like the lover boy method, which I do think is illegal in some jurisdictions, where you're basically grooming impressionable young women and then having them do lewd or sexual acts. So there is a case there. It's just I don't know. I also like Andrew Tate. Like I believe in the UK, the lover boy method is like a form of sex trafficking. So uh, they're they're prosecuting him. The law is breathing down his neck. I think, okay, well, Andrew Tate to me basically seems innocent. So if I apply that to Epstein, like, okay, I'm kind of thinking that Epstein, is just some old pervert who might be working with Israeli intelligence, but which I find, you know, incredibly heinous. But to what degree was he just kidnapping women and raping them? I just don't see a ton of evidence for it.
Gosh, I just feel like that is an insane thing to say. And as far as being a foreign intelligence, I don't know as much about like I'm very interested to see the findings on that, to be honest with you, because it could be any one of them, right? It could be French, it could be British, it could be Russian, it could be Israeli. Pretty much everyone except for the Chinese were fucking about here. So
Oh yeah, it's possible he was linked up with the Russians. I think most likely he is basically linked up with the Israelis somehow. I think Netanyahu actually made an interesting tweet, which I saw, and it said
was it about
something like,
Ehud Barak? Is that the one you're talking about?
yeah, and uh, basically Netanyahu was saying, well, if anything, Epstein was against the Israeli state because he was aligned with these subversive left wingers who sow division. Uh, and honestly, like, I kind of see Netanyahu's point because, you know, Israel, they might have a common goal. All the people of Israel may have a common goal of like wiping out the Palestinians or something. But
Right.
there is factionalism within the Israeli government, and there are, deep divisions. So, Ehud Barak, he does represent the left wing faction or the left wing side of Israel. And it seems like Epstein had more ties with Barak than, certainly than Netanyahu
Oh,
or
for sure.
or
Right.
or other right wing Israelis. So he could be an anti-Likud but still pro-Israel force. It's hard to say for certain. I think what we can say though is that he probably was some form of Jewish patriot or Jewish chauvinist. A lot of his money comes from other powerful, Jewish Zionists like Leon Black. There's Lex Wexner. Other people.
And he was definitely a Jewish, I don't know how else to say this, supremacist, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the way he talks about um even like Catholic theology, right? Like he called Pope Francis like, the great evil or whatever, right? Or did he call him the great Satan? Is that what he said? I don't remember what he said. It was very negative towards Francis because of what he did. And I'm just like, well, that's insane. But um, anyway, what I was
Oh
gonna
yeah.
say, I don't know if you saw, but Thomas Massey said that there is like he got into a skiff today, right? And he got to see some of the names that were redacted and some of the photos that were redacted. And he was like, "Hey, there's somebody that is still in power in a foreign state that are in those files. I saw the name." And I'm like, God, please just say it. Just release it. I would love nothing more.
Yeah, that's interesting. The phrasing he used, "still in power." I'm wondering who that might be
He
because to
didn't
me,
he didn't indicate head of state either, by the way. So maybe it's not, but he said someone's still in power, right?
hmm, it almost the way that sounds is like almost like an elected official, but it could be Mohammed bin Salman. I think there's like some links between them. Could be an Israeli official. Who knows? Who knows? It could be, but also, what does the email say? I mean, if maybe it's not. I mean, it's probably bad, but
It was bad enough they felt the need to redact it. But let's talk about the mindset that is conspiracy. Because would you say, I mean, if you remember when this issue first dropped, and I know we're picking on this issue and we can move off of it if you want, but like 10 years ago, the only people talking about this were people that were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that were like Hillary Clinton drinks baby blood and is a satanic pedophile, right?
yeah.
Um, that, the Alex Jones type stuff. Um, we're not really there anymore, right? We've kind of like now that the files have come out, it has only gotten worse, right? Like it's not so like what is your take on that? Like why is there this need for like a bigger conspiracy than what the evidence proves or like what is laid out?
I don't know. I'm really not sure what the deal is with that. Like, why do so many people believe such outrageous things? Like I saw some tweet, in fact, and it was so absurd. I couldn't help but just scoff and laugh a little. It was like Jeffrey Epstein had a trap door that led into the ocean, and there was a shark pit to eat the remains of these girls. And I'm like, and it got like 100,000 likes on Twitter, and I'm sure like millions of impressions. That was just one I saw of many, but that was one of the crazy ones. And I'm like, okay, no, there wasn't. There was not a trap door that leads to sharks. For like that's
Right, right.
but people are eating it up. I mean, people will just take whatever salacious made up thing as fact, and you know, people are believing anything. And that's why I want to be super cautious when I say, and, maybe it is a stretch to say he for sure did not rape anyone, but I'm trying to be as objective as possible here, and it's like, okay, I'm just not seeing a ton of evidence that he's, you know, like I don't think he's Satan number two. I mean, a pretty bad guy, pretty degenerate dude who is certain, in my opinion, certainly some kind of foreign asset or something. And but to what degree does he just have like a harem of sex slaves? I just don't see a lot of evidence for that.
Interesting. Well, and not to get into the specifics on that again, but I think it is interesting. In the age of the internet where, if you were to describe the internet in like someone in like 1960 or 1950, and you're like, we have this resource where you can look up basically you have an encyclopedia at your fingertips. You can look it up. You can surf through it as fast as your hands can type, and you can get factual, accurate information for whatever question you might have, whether it's how to cook, how to, change your tire, literally anything, right? And then now we're at the point between AI algorithms, right? And we're just at the dawn of AI, right? So
Mm-hmm.
pushing all these KPIs for, engagement, right? And it just now the internet has been rendered basically, I feel like we're not quite there, but we're on the road of the internet being meaningless because, it used to be more regulated in the sense that like, if you could see truthful stuff on there, and now it's at the point where like 99.99999% of the shit is not only fake but just completely made up, fractally wrong, right? And I think this is how like all these conspiracies pop up because I mean, people just they can't help themselves. Like that story you mentioned about Epstein and the shark, right? I mean, that's fucking unbelievably stupid and it would take 2 seconds of thought, right? But here's one that
Yeah.
doesn't take 2 seconds of thought. Like if you remember when Charlie Kirk got shot, there was this tweet that went viral and then it just splintered all over the internet where his daughter was there and she was scared of the gunfire and ran towards her lifeless father. She wasn't even there, right? Somebody just completely made it up and it just went viral, right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember that because I believed it at
I
first. I
did
was like,
too.
"Oh my gosh, how
So
terrible."
so the gap between I think that and then the shark pit I don't think is as there's a million things in between that, right? At least, so in
Oh
terms
yeah.
of believability. So I think that we're in a dangerous spot, honestly, because people are so addicted to their phones. They use them probably 8 to 10 hours a day, right? And that's the kind of shit that they're feeding themselves, so Neil deGrasse Tyson, sorry to monologue. Neil deGrasse Tyson has this, bit where he's like, yeah, we're fucked, right? Like the internet is being what was supposed to be like a tool for the betterment of our minds is now like what's fucking us. So I just
Yeah,
think of everything from Bigfoot to flat Earth, right? Like,
I agree. It's actually really concerning because right now, ever since really the Trump era started, we've had this kind of like national conversation about living in a post-truth world, or fake news, what have you. People just saying obviously fake things, passing it off as truth. But I've got to tell you, I don't think it's ever been to the level that it is now. Like right now, and maybe it's just because I'm more aware, so I just see it more often. Right now, in my opinion, it is the worst it has ever been, because you can go on Twitter and just maybe one out of every 20 posts, you will see something that is just factually incorrect about, some subject or other, and it'll get a fair amount of likes. And I'm like, this is just wrong. This isn't based in fact. This doesn't have, at the very least, proper context, or it's misconstruing this idea. So, yeah, we do live in a dangerous fact environment.
well,
Not to sound.
yeah, and that stuff travels upward. Like anyone who thinks that this like if you think that these politicians because and I specify politicians because like listen, if you or I or a mutual friend of ours thinks that like the moon is made of cheese, right, or the earth is flat, there's no real consequence of that. I think where it has consequences is when like the people making the decisions have false information, right?
Mhm.
So the best example of this is Trump gets up there to debate Kamala Harris, and they're eating the dogs, right? Like it was
Yeah.
literally a meme, like just pure misinformation, right? Just definitely not true. And it made it all the way up to the fucking future president of the United States. So if you don't think that there's information like that for all these politics, like you're wrong. You're just wrong, you know? And I
Yeah,
don't I don't know what
it's
to do. I don't know how we solve it. Do you think it's the internet, or do you think it's something else? Like do you think that this was inevitable even if we didn't have social media and stuff? Because I think it's pretty much just the internet.
uh no, here's the thing. I think, the lumpen proles, I think most people are just stupid, or are, given to
There's a quote.
conspiratorial thinking.
Uh,
There was this pastor who was spreading around the idea that the Illuminati was behind the French Revolution. Like he's the guy that popularized the Illuminati. That's obviously fake. Like the Illuminati is not a real thing, but it was a huge thing in the public consciousness back then. Like this Illuminati conspiracy theory that the Illuminati started the French Revolution, and we're pulling the strings. And I think of like people like Candace Owens, and just thinking of somebody related to the French. Brigitte Macron is a man. Well, obviously not. You know, Brigitte Macron is just obviously not a man, but she has enough followers. I mean, she's probably the biggest right wing channel
mm-hmm.
uh, on YouTube, and I don't know how many of her followers believe her, but I mean, there's got to be at least 1 million people that believe Brigitte Macron is a man. Yeah, I
Purely,
mean,
purely because of Candace Owens.
yeah, yeah. And like, is that not just insane? And here's another thing. You mentioned the flat Earth and Bigfoot earlier. I remember because it, in Trump's first term, and leading up to it, I remember this Earth stuff. In fact, I was like an early mover on it. I was like an ironic flat earther, and I remember junior year of high school, I found out about it on the internet, and I would be like, I would go to my classes and I would say stuff like, yeah, the earth is flat, and I would try to get a rise out of people. And I even made like a slideshow and debated it in one of my classes. Like, I really did. And I just loved getting a rise out of people. I would tell it to like everyone I knew. But obviously, it's like, okay, I know the earth is not flat. It's just something funny to say.
Right. You're rage baiting before it was popular.
Yeah, yeah. And then like other people started thinking the earth is flat. The conspiracy kind of gained a little more mainstream attention. And I was like, oh, okay. Uh this is just funny. I think this is just funny, and I don't get why everybody's honestly getting so mad. Like, do you remember Kawhi? I think it was Kawhi Leonard or something. He thought the earth was
Kyrie
flat.
Irving. Kyrie Irving, yes.
Oh yeah, Kyrie Irving. Sorry, I knew it started with a K.
Right.
And I
Which he
remember like all these. I'm so sorry, but I remember all these people were getting like so frustrated with them. Like, and I'm like, why are they getting so mad? It's just some stupid conspiracy theory. It doesn't matter. But I think I finally get why it matters
Okay, why
because
does it matter? Yes.
yeah, because I mean, if we if we live in a world where you can just believe something that is just patently false and stupid, then it kind of is a slippery slope on some level, because then you're going to think Brigitte Macron is a man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And well, and so we talk about, the ones that have very little to zero consequence. Like I would say, generally speaking, flat Earth, there's no public policy off of that, right? There's no public policy to Bigfoot, right? Or the Loch Ness Monster, or I'm trying to think. But then there are some that I would still consider low hanging fruit, low IQ stuff, right? But they are fucking dangerous, dude. They are fucking like the Brigitte Macron run being one of the best examples, right? Or these vaccines fucking have a chip in them, right? Or vaccine. You could even say vaccines cause autism. Or I'm trying to think of more that I just were like, how do people fucking believe? Like the 2020 election being stolen, it's like, what? These are fucking dangerous, dude, you know? And I'm trying to think of one on the left, I promise, just to kind of call balls and strikes, but I have no fucking idea what they have that's anywhere close to the level of, like, dude, come the fuck on, as Brigitte Macron is a man. You know? I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
there
don't
is,
know that.
but
Yeah, I don't think I can name one.
besides,
uh
oh, I guess you could say the Trayvon Martin one, but that's not really a conspiracy. Um, that's just like, political propaganda. That's not really like a level of like fractal wrongness, I guess.
yeah, I see what you mean. Like, they definitely are willing to
Lie, for
basically
sure.
lie. Yeah, they're
No, for
willing to
sure.
lie to push a narrative, but yeah, it's certainly nowhere near the level of like Brigitte Macron is a man,
I mean, completely made
or
up. That's what I mean. Like, come
yeah,
completely
yeah.
made up in land of fiction, satanic pedophile elite, right? That level of fucking what the fuck, you know? Um,
Hmm.
and like I said, like, we could sit here and bully the Bigfoot people, right? Because those people, the Bigfoot people, they look exactly like what you'd think they would look like, right? These
Yeah.
these grown adults that think that there is a hairy monkey man rolling through the forests of Oklahoma and South Carolina and Colorado, right? But there's really no danger there, you know? But God, the people who
Yeah.
believe the dangerous ones, I'm like, what in the fuck are we doing? You know? I don't know. Which one is your favorite? Was it the Brigitte Macron one where you were like, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah, that one is like, it's just so absurd. I can't believe anyone can like listen to Candace Owens and like find her credible. Because there are some things where I'm like, okay, I can like the moon landing. I think we went to the moon. But if somebody says to me, "Oh, I think they worked with Stanley Kubrick to make a film or something that looked like we were on the moon so we could beat the Soviets and, moralize the American public," I would be like, okay, I don't believe that, but there's, maybe something there where it's like, I can see how you got here. And I don't think it's like outside the realm of possibility. But Candace Owens is doing things like Brigitte Macron is a man, Charlie Kirk could astrally project and time travel. And it's like, okay, how do people, is this just entertainment? Like, how do people listen to this and like find this woman? I mean, surely people do not actually believe Charlie Kirk could astrally project or time travel.
Well, I got a feeling, and listen, I have lived around these superstitious people my whole life, right? Now, as I know you have, and nothing shocks me anymore. I mean, I have listened to people try to talk away seizures as demon possession. I fuck you not. You know, like I cannot put anything past these people anymore. And when I say these people, I don't even mean a political affiliation. I just mean that the people who are willing to believe that which all of us know are not true. I cannot understand it. You know what I mean? These are people who will literally make believe if they have to, rather than change their minds. Especially like once they hear, for example, like if you ever confronted anyone on like something that they know is false, and you're like, there's no way that that's not true. Like, we did this a lot in college, actually, not to, go back to the college days, but we used to have conversations about evolution every fucking day. And it with Christian creationists, and it was the most fucking exhausting. Darren can back this up more than I can because he was the victim of this more than way more than any one of us was. But it's just like, they would say shit that is right out of like the Kent Hovind fucking creationist fucking catalog. And it's like, these people want to believe this stuff. Why? Like,
Yeah.
explain it to me. Why? I don't. This is what psychologists need to be doing. They need to get their ass to work, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what you could call it because I think on some level the creationism thing is definitely of a different category. I would almost call it like extreme cognitive dissonance. Yeah, kind of like you said, like you want to believe it, therefore you will, no matter what. It's like, okay, dinosaurs obviously existed. We have their bones. From there, you can draw some pretty reasonable conclusions about the age of the Earth. You know, and it's amazing. Another facet of this is that it's not dumb people that believe this
Yes.
necessarily. There
Yes. No, I
there
agree.
are incredibly intelligent, well-read, and well-spoken people. Heck, they might even have PhDs, and they could probably, I don't know, they might be able to like they might be your doctor. But at the end of the day, they don't believe dinosaurs existed. It's some extreme cognitive dissonance. And in fact, my mom, and I'm not going to give away too many details, but my mom told me an anecdote of a relatively affluent person that we are. Well, I guess I kind of know of this person. She knows this person better. That is a Candace Owens follower and will post like all these absurd, theories like aping the Candace talking points, and it's a very well-to-do person, like very smart business wise, has good business acumen, and yet they believe just kookery. So yeah, it doesn't even correlate with intelligence necessarily. I mean, you could have like well above average high functioning people believing in just utter nonsense. So
Yeah, and not to. not to back you up with another anecdote again, but this was, and not to make it more so about politics, but we saw this at the January 6th people, right? The people that were arrested and whatnot. These were not your homeless right-wing militia people who didn't make it past eighth grade. Like these were lawyers, these were football coaches, these were like well-respected doctors. Like
Oh yeah.
these weren't just people who lacked education, right? Like there is a willingness to believe across the board all of this shit. Um, and I'm very interested because, like you said, it makes no sense. You know that they're not dumb. I've talked to these people. Many of them were way smarter than I was, but I was like, how can you not see that this is not, specifically like the young Earth creationist stuff? I was like, everyone here is smarter than me at this table. There's no way half of you still buy this. Like, there's just no way. Um, and I couldn't come to any other conclusion at the time other than like they refuse to not believe it. Like the belief is more important than the truth. I think that's where we're at, right? So, you said it at the very beginning of this episode, like we're in a post-truth world. I don't know how we get back. I don't even know how it's fucking possible in this world to go back to like a truth era, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I mean, like I said earlier, I think this year, 20 well, last year too, 2025 and 2026 have been the absolute worst years for kookery. People just pulling stuff out of their butt, claiming it's true, and tons of people will see it and believe it. You know, uh, I think it only gets worse from here with AI. People can post a photo saying something happened, and it's getting harder and harder to, you know, decipher what's fake and what isn't. AI has tripped me up in the past. Even it typically has to be a very very good AI video. Most of the time I can tell, but yeah, I have been tripped up on a couple of occasions. So I mean, it only gets worse from here.
Yeah.
It's actually it's actually kind of worrisome,
Well, and
to be honest.
this one's hard to predict, but like, what do you think? Like the biggest? Well, let's not even do predictions because I feel like that's just too hard to do. There's no telling what the next like Bridget McCrone story could be, right? But which ones do you think are like the most harmful right now?
Ooh,
Like
most
something that is
harmful.
just so painfully obvious that it's not true, and yet let's just the number doesn't matter, but let's just say somewhere around 25-30% of the public probably believes it, you know.
Ooh, 25-30%. Uh, I don't know if I can name one that like third,
Well,
such
forget about the number, forget about the number, right? I was just throwing that out there as a random, but like what do you think is like the biggest impact one where you're like, this is fucking dangerous, right?
the health stuff, like the
Dude, yes,
RFK
the
tier.
fucking
Yeah.
vaccines. I was gonna go there immediately. Yes, we're so
Like for
fucked.
me, yes, yes, and I know people personally that are intelligent, otherwise intelligent people, good people, but when it comes to like the medicine and stuff, I think, they're just not willing to like really look at the literature, or they believe fake literature. Uh this, I don't know how much of the public it is. I would say it's a sizable minority. Maybe it's certainly less than 10%. Uh, I would say the real kooks are probably only clustering around 1 to 2%. But,
I think that
you only
number's
need
got to be
so.
higher. But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, though, is that higher than 2% will believe in other things, maybe not to the same degree. I think maybe
Sure,
10% of the public will
somewhat
believe in
agreed.
some kookery.
Right, somewhat agree with
Uh,
some cookery. Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of anti-vaccine stuff. This is part of the reason we're seeing an uptick in measles cases. In fact, there was a measles case in my town, reportedly not too long ago, fairly recently. Uh, and I mean, measles, something we had eradicated. Part of it is also immigration from the third world. So that's part of it, but the anti-vaccine stuff does not help by any means. So, that's a huge public health uh,
Yeah,
concern.
it's fucking baffling. Because, RFK in general, he arguably is the most underrated danger of this administration. The level of shit that he is undoing, not from a background of science, not from a background of like here's the thing, like people fell in love with RFK because he was like Americans are fat. Americans need to quit eating chips and drinking soda. And everyone was like, dude, he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Like as if as
Yeah,
if a scientist in a fucking lab coat couldn't have told you, yeah, if you eat chips and you fucking drink soda, you're gonna be obese. Like it's just fucking senile, these people. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, the vaccine stuff. I'm actually worried, Darren. So like if we have another like COVID broke so many people's brains, right? If we ever have like any situation like COVID ever again, then like I'm worried we're not going to be able to respond to it, you know? Like it's just unbelievable, And I'm not trying to relitigate COVID, but I think it's pretty fair to say that like the damage that it has done to the institution from COVID is one that like we will never be on the same page ever again about how to deal with a vaccine. There will or how to deal with a virus through a vaccine. Like there will always be a significant amount of fucking pushback just to, and it's fuck, it's dangerous, dude. Fuck, it's so dangerous.
yeah. With COVID, I'm like, okay, on some level, I can see why people were willing to give into this mass delusion. I am optimistic because I think if the sickness were really bad, like the plague, I do think people would be like begging to get vaccinated. Like I don't think we'd see this like mass conspiracism take hold because I think what allowed people to believe in the COVID conspiracies was that it was largely pretty low stake, because if you weren't elderly, then COVID really wasn't going to mess you up too bad. I mean, I had COVID just a couple weeks ago. It knocked me down. Is basically like getting the flu, but it wasn't so bad. I am optimistic. I think if people are getting the plague and dying, dropping like flies, or if they're getting put in like an iron lung or something, then I think yeah, people would probably be more willing to get a vaccine. So I'm not totally pessimistic about the intelligence of the American public yet. But it is a worrisome trend seeing all this, uh, you know, anti-vax stuff, anti-medicine, because usually that stuff is reserved for like, uh, like weird religious cults. Who does that? Like the Jehovah's Witness or so. I could be, I could be thinking of someone else, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is a worrisome trend. I do think that is the most dangerous conspiracy of our time, and what sucks is that since it's not stupid people necessarily that believe in it, like RFK, he might have like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 good ideas, like okay, remove certain ingredients from Coke, or remove certain dyes from candy, or take away EBT recipients ability to pay for soda pop. like okay, I mean, all of that I can totally get behind, but this because scientifically, like dyes like red 40 and stuff like that is bad for you. That's not good. So yeah, we should limit that. But then he'll throw in shit the vaccine passes the blood brain barrier and it and it gives you autism. So it's like, okay, well, that right there is like the danger. That kind of makes everything else you say like not good. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, no, he's a different level of shit. You know what I mean? Like this that's he's just insane. You know? And I fear that the damage he's done is stuff that we will never get back to where we were pre 2020, right? Where for the most part, people when the CDC said something or when the NIH said something, people were like, "Well, I mean, fuck, it's the CDC." You know what I mean? Like, and for those of you who thinks that that's elitist and snobby, you're right. If you want me to trust 10 out of 10 times the CDC or 10 out of 10 times Dave Smith, like I'm gonna go with the CDC with all due respect to Dave Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I got vaccinated and I got the booster. I didn't get any others than that, but it
Sheep,
didn't kill me.
sheep.
Uh, yeah, my arm didn't blow
Not
off.
me
I
too. You know,
so
my this is another anecdote on that, and then we can move on to another one. But my sister truly believed that like after I got the vaccine, that my skin was magnetic. She saw this. I swear to God, I know, you want to talk about low-hanging fruit. My sister she works at a hospital, so this is her field, and I shit you not. And so she's like, "Wait, come here." I was told it like so she grabs a spoon, she like licks it and then like tries to stick it on my arm. And then she's like, "Well, hold on, let me do the other arm because they said if we do the other arm, it might jolt you." And so as soon as she like put it near my skin, I like and I was just fucking with her, and she freaked the fuck out. She totally bought it. It killed, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just fucking with you." But you know what I mean? It just kind of goes to show, like, she works in a hospital every day, right? Like a big one. And so it's like, she got fucked by fucking
oh yeah.
she saw something on TikTok, you know?
Yeah, I mean it it's funny because yeah, even the healthcare workers are susceptible. I actually a nurse lives near me and I was walking my dog one day and I was talking and she was outside like getting her mail or something. And so I talked to her like on my walk with my dog and I forget exactly what it was, but I do remember being like, wow, even she believes in some, health conspiracy that's just absurd. So I'm like, and to be a nurse, make no mistakes, you have to be pretty intelligent. I mean, those, to especially, if you get the degree in college, that actually takes quite a bit of effort. It's like 5 years of school. So, these are by no means dumb people. It's just, yeah, I mean, people will believe things they see on TikTok.
Yeah, and it's I do feel like there is a part of me, and this might just be cynical, but I do feel like there is a part of these people that they want to. They want to believe it. There is because like I'll have these conversations with like these the people I know, like you and everybody, and they're like, "Well, what do we do about these people? Like, what can you do? Let's just say the number got really high, and let's just say that the number is I don't even know whatever percent believes Bridget McCrone is a man. Let's just say 30%. What do you do in a society like that, right? Like, how do you even fucking operate? And it's like, well, I don't know that there is a convincing them. These people will not be told. I can tell you after having enough conversations with these people. And listen, this is snobby. I admit that, but they will not be told that what they believe is wrong, and they will not correct what they believe. So the only thing we can do is just make policy decisions without them. And that sounds
Yeah.
fucking that sounds so cruel, right? I do not care. I do. We cannot let these people run our society. We cannot. We just because some people will be pissed, we cannot let them fuck us over, forever. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think that that's cynical? Do you feel like that's not fair in a democracy? What do you think of that approach? Or do you feel like
Um,
it's necessary?
here's the thing, like it, you almost have to be like in favor of mass voter enfranchisement or mass voter disenfranchisement, and you really just can't do like a middle ground because I think just about everyone believes in something that is just not true.
Sure,
Uh,
I could probably believe that. Yeah.
and so if everybody is allowed to vote, then at the very least, you're going to get an aggregate, or maybe not. You're going to get an average, and maybe this average of beliefs will trend towards a smart policy decision. Or you can limit it to only the very elite, and since these people are highly educated, maybe they will be able to weigh all possible outcomes and hopefully pick something that's uh, for the betterment of society and everyone.
Hmm.
And there are trade-offs with either model, but if you do a middle ground where you just try to take away the vote from like maybe 30%, well, it's like, yeah, it might lead to better outcomes, but I also think the problem is there's still a lot of kookery in the other 70%. And the conspiracies the 70% might believe in might uh and so maybe the 30% don't believe in those ones. So I almost feel like you have to, especially when it's divvied up on political lines. So I almost feel like whether everybody gets a vote or only a very small handful do, and anything in the middle might lead to perhaps an even worse policy outcome.
Yeah, gosh. And you want to talk about, man, it's just dangerous. I'm on the team that's like, if you, if, if you decide that you're gonna just start picking and choosing who in your, voter base is gonna be enfranchised, I almost feel like there's no way that that ends up good, right? God, but also like I'm just thinking like if not even necessarily my side, but if just the most rational people got a voice, like regardless of political affiliation, I just feel like we would just so much better. You know what I mean? Like it just God, I cannot imagine these fucking people. We're held hostage, I feel like, by the slowest 10% of our society that rules us, you know? It just, you know? And I know that sounds so fucked up and so elitist, and it's like, what are you saying? The common man? Yes. Yes. Like,
Oh yeah, the common man is definitely stupid, but what's even more blackpilling is that it's more than the common man, even the middle class, and to an extent, even the upper class. Especially. I mean, because we just gave anecdotes of the upper class being stupid as well. So there's stupidity all over. Of course, it is more concentrated in the lower classes,
mhm.
but I really think that if you're going to go for an elite model where only the best and brightest are allowed to rule, you really have to, there has to be like a whole set of institutions created that we just don't have yet that are built for like filtering these people out. And that's really the only way.
Well, and the
Uh,
problem with obviously enfranchisement and stuff is that we do our elections are done on a state by state basis, sometimes county by county basis, right? So, like even for federal elections, right? So, like for example, like the House seats here in Oklahoma, like the state gets to decide how those districts are drawn up. How like what felonies count for voting, which ones don't, which ones do you have to weigh, how many people are we going to dock off the voter rolls this year, all of that shit, right? And so it's one of those things that like I don't even know how you fucking like you said, there's just so many institutions you'd have to do, and there's just no way that any of it flies, you know? Because for whatever reason, both sides would oppose this, right? For a number of reasons. So,
Yeah, I can see, I can already see it because if you, funny enough, if you if you made it to where only the most educated could vote, then actually the Democrats would find themselves in a more favorable position because the Republicans have become more of the party of the working class and then the ultra elites, whereas the uh, the Democratic Party is more of the middle, kind of middle class elites, maybe upper class ish, and then there's like the ultra low, like the destitute and the poor, the scrum of society. There's actually a good Marxist word for it. Not
proletariat.
proles, not proles. It's even lower than prole. It's like the
You're asking the
uh,
wrong guy, you know?
it's not lumpen prole. It's well, I'll think of it later. But basically, someone with very little revolutionary potential. Is it lumpen prole?
Oh,
Okay,
you're
yeah,
asking the wrong guy.
I think it is lumpen prole. Okay, that's all I was thinking of.
Interesting.
And and but yeah, I mean, in terms of raw numbers, the Democrats have more educated people, but you know, educated people believe in a lot of dumb stuff too. So
Sure, sure. I don't disagree with that. I just feel like, if we were gonna have a quiz on like how many branches of government are there, what are they? What percent? Here's a real funny one. Just for those of you who think that the American people are totally competent and totally capable of making their own decisions in terms of government. They see this poll every now and again where they'll question random Americans and they'll be like, "Do you oppose Arabic numerals being taught in school?" And a solid like 60% of respondents will be like, "I oppose." And these people don't realize, you know what I mean, Darren? I'm sure you caught it on pretty quick. But for those of you who don't know, Arabic numerals are the number system that we use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I guess I should have started with 0, but yes. Um, like it's just the number system. like it's just called Arabic numerals.
yeah, the average person is very uninformed. Unfortunately, I think ultimately it kind of falls upon us to like take power in whatever way we can, and then maybe impose our will in the future. But the thing is, I really just don't trust anyone else but myself to make the right decisions for. And I know that
Well,
sounds
that's
terrible,
that's the
but
$60,000 question right there. Like I think you and I can both agree the average, normal, everyday people are not equipped to decide these macro level decisions, right? Foreign policy, economics, and anything like that, right? But just because they don't know, it's not their fault, right? Who the fuck has the time for this shit, you know? Um, but I think the problem becomes like, who do we trust to do that in our stead, right? And
mm-hmm.
now we've drifted way off of this conspiracy topic, and I apologize for that. But it's just one of those things that like I don't even know where to begin on that. Winston Churchill I think said it pretty good, right? Like democracy sucks, compared to every or except compared to any other form of government, right? Like, you know, this is the best we can do, right? It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, overall I think we do have a pretty good system going. It's just
The fractions or the fractors are becoming ever more prevalent, though. Like this is not good. Well, anyway, I'll give you some rounding thoughts because I've monopolized a lot.
no, you're fine. I guess just to tie it in a bow, it just never ceases to amaze me how really stupid we're all becoming. Yeah, and what people are willing to believe, extreme cognitive dissonance. I just see it more and more these days, and it's a pretty worrying trend. I guess maybe it's not as bad as it once was because we did have the whole QAnon thing, but we also have people that believe Charlie Kirk was like a teleporting space alien. So, you know, I is it the same amount of people that believe those things? I'm sure it's a similar amount. I don't know. It just seems worse these days, but I'm very worried. How about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't see, unfortunately, any way out for this. Give me a second. Sorry, yawn. Yeah, I don't see any way out of this, honestly. Like I only see the problem getting worse because our system has been like we're not gonna regulate the internet. Like we're gonna treat the internet like it's the wild fucking west, right? Like we're gonna and honestly, like I put so much blame on the internet. Like I know you gave an example about some old pastor who, abused his pulpit to make people, you know, think about the Illuminati. And I could think of like Kent Hovind, in the 90s selling DVDs to tell people that the earth is 6,000 year old and dinosaur bones were put there by Satan to test us, right? I can think about all of that. But I think like whenever you're talking at the scale we are talking about, we're at the point now where I would say literally 99% of the internet is fake, you know? So, I mean, how much do we really trust people to find that 1% or be able to decipher between the 1% and the 99%? So, unfortunately, I think the internet will be rendered useless in the next decade because of the misinformation problem. So, if we choose not to regulate it, so am I in favor of regulating it? I don't know. I haven't thought it out, but I could see the appeal. You know what I mean? But anyway,
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I see the appeal. I do worry, like Ministry of Truth type stuff,
for
because
sure,
then you
yeah.
can get into some abuses. I think, best practice is just trust a reliable news source, and for the most part, you're not going to be misled. I mean, there are sometimes, I'm a New York Times subscriber, and I will be baffled at how they frame things, and I think the way they cover something might be stupid, but 95% of the time you're getting good information that, despite the bias, is accurate. So, uh, yeah, I guess to our listeners, you should just, uh, you know, read the paper of record, and for the most part, you'll have a pretty good sense of reality.
Yeah, I think so. And I would say generally you want to trust sources that can be held seriously accountable. This is, your print sources, right? These are your scientific journals in that regard, right? I would say go to places where there is a process for improvement, right? For the truth. Whether it's they engage in the scientific method or they have a vested interest in giving you the most accurate information versus, like a social media site, which their interest is to drive engagement. So there's the two very different interests.